Hey everybody, this is LoX's with Myoelectric, and today I'm doing a follow-up to the Kone XTD unboxing that I've just done recently on Myoelectric. Today I'm going to be talking about the Kone, what I think about it. I got in a good gaming session last night. I'm going to talk about Razer mice, I'm going to talk about Logitech mice, and then one of our users on YouTube had a question about button layouts. He's moving from console to PC gaming, so I'm going to address his question in this video. So far, I am very impressed with this mouse. I feel like I really did get a good assessment of how it's going to work for me last night. I played probably 2 or 3 hours worth of Resident Evil, and it worked really good. I mean, as I said before, this layout is a familiar layout. It's very similar to Logitech mice that I've liked over the years, except that it kind of adds to what is already a good working formula. It has larger buttons. I felt like the mouse wheel action is a lot more deliberate. On Logitech mice, I felt like I would continually kind of accidentally, maybe press the middle mouse button down, mouse 3 in Quake games, when I'd be trying to tilt. So on this mouse, all the actions are more deliberate on the wheel. You're actually going to be doing what you want to be doing when you're performing actions on it. So that I'm really happy with. The thumb buttons are bigger. As I said, Logitech mice kind of have smaller buttons, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about what I haven't liked about Logitech mice in just a little bit. Something that isn't necessarily bad, but I just kind of like about the Savu mouse that is different on this mouse. The gripping texture on the surface here this is kind of a slick, smooth surface here. I think I just prefer the textured surface a little bit better. Sometimes this can almost feel to me almost like a chalkboard feel, and I don't want to think about nails on a chalkboard when I'm gaming, but it's not bad. After my hands get a little bit of moisture, it's fine. But I mean, this is pretty much standard for a lot of different mice, and it's really not a big deal. It's just I prefer probably the setup on the Savu a little bit better.
The software here for the Kone XTD does everything I want it to. The only problem that I had initially was a very simple function that I've never had a problem with before. That's setting keystrokes for buttons on the mouse. All I wanted to do was to set keystrokes for the buttons on the side here, and I didn't see an option anywhere in how to do this. I even started to make a macro to try and simulate that, but I just knew that wasn't right. Finally, after kind of going through several options on here, I looked at assign a shortcut. Now, initially when I'm looking at assign a shortcut, I'm thinking like a shortcut to an application, like a shortcut icon on your desktop. Well, when you click on that, you can actually set a single key in there. You can set in combinations of keys. So it took me probably, seriously, about 20 minutes to figure out how to just bind a keystroke to a button. Amanda was with me. I was trying to do this. I was furious. So anyway, that's the only snag I ran into here. Everything in the software is really cool. I'm kind of looking forward to see what all this stuff will do here. You can see how many clicks and such I performed statistics. So you can see that I've gotten a decent amount of time in from gaming here.
Now that we know what I like about this mouse, and I made a lot of comparisons to Logitech and Razer mice, we can go ahead and look at some of the Logitech mice and Razer mice that I've owned over the years. Some of them I held on to, a lot of them I have not, but these are a few that I've had around the house, and this is probably the oldest one that I have. This is a modded version of the Logitech MX 510. Now this was technically the very first, at least when I got onto it, this is the very first gaming mouse offered by Logitech, at least with this kind of form. The MX 500 had a very similar form, but it wasn't marketed as a gaming mouse. It was just an office mouse. It was very similar to this. This one is actually, the 510 here has been painted. It came out originally in a couple of different flavors. One was kind of a reddish ladybug design is what a lot of people call it. Then they had a blue variation. Yeah, I modded the hell out of this. I put a blue LED on the inside there, and at the time I was using an ice mat, so I put on feet that would work well with that. And here you can kind of see this form. You can see this button layout and how it's very similar to what we have on the Kone XTD. But as I said, these are very small buttons. They're kind of difficult to use. In a gaming situation, it's very easy to accidentally press buttons that you don't want to. Okay, so the 518 is very similar to the 510. Same button layout. I think the only thing that was really different with the 518 here was the technology on the inside. Once again, marketed as a gaming mouse. But I think the laser that was in it was actually very similar to the Razer Diamondback. And both of those had incredible sensors for the time. And I owned one of these. This is actually Amanda's mouse. I had the Magma version of that. This mouse, the G500, I actually really enjoyed for a long time. I was a little bit thrown off because they got rid of some of the button placement that was kind of traditional for the series. But what I like about this mouse, and I'll go into this later, this mouse is incredible for video editing. It has a free scroll on it, and that's really the heart of what makes it a great mouse for that, because you basically turn your mouse into a shuttle. Like I said, I'm going to save that for another video someday, but this puppy's a good mouse. I'm still going to hold on to it, even though I have a new gaming mouse. This is a wireless mouse that I use on my laptop, and it kind of follows the same suit as this. And neither one of these I'm going to use for gaming. I never really use this one for gaming, but this too has the free scroll action, and it's a good mouse. And I already spoke a little bit about the Razer. So as a whole, Logitech mice, I feel kind of conform to an office setup. I don't really feel like they've done anything particularly innovative other than the technology that's inside the mice themselves. It doesn't feel like anything in ergonomics or button layout or anything is really that risky. I don't really feel like they're very innovative. I feel like, you know, you have all these mice here, and all of them are based on the MX500's design that came out in like 2001 or 2002, and that was an office mouse. So I don't feel like you're really evolving if you're basing, you know, all these mice off of that. Now, it was a formula that works, so I understand that, and it's very similar to, you know, this mouse over here. But like I said, you know, there's some subtle things that have taken place that just gears this more for gaming. I mean, you got larger buttons. You know, there's a lot of those subtleties go a long way, I think. Now, Razer. I've owned several Razer mice. Let's see here. I started with the Diamondback. Then I got a Death Adder. Then I got a LoX's, and then an Imperator. And while I generally liked Razer mice, I mean, they performed well, it was kind of the same thing. I felt like they weren't necessarily doing anything innovative rather than just the laser technology itself. Razer was kind of slow to move into adding more buttons. I felt like their software was always kind of plagued with some sort of weird issue. And if you want to get an idea of what to expect from a Razer mouse, just go onto their site, go check out their drivers, and you'll have an idea. You'll see support fix for this, support fix for that, tracking issues, you know, cursor is jumping. I mean, that is what it's like to own a Razer mouse. I mean, when it's working good, it's working great, but they just, I don't know what's going on there sometimes. I remember that they had all these patch releases for the LoX's, and it turned out that the mouse was skipping because of the sticker that was on the bottom. You look up any of this, you will see that it's true. I'm obviously a bit of an extremist when it comes to mice, so save yourself some headaches. Look this stuff up before you make any purchases.
The final part of this video, I'm going to go ahead and answer a user question from John Lou. I don't know if that's Lou, if that's lead speak there, or maybe it's John L33W. That's his waist side. I don't really know. But he asks, thanks for the video, LoX. I'm making the switch from console to PC gaming real soon, next payday, but I'm a little nervous how I'm going to adopt to using keyboard mouse instead of a controller, so I'm really curious what your settings and button layout is like, especially for FPSs.
The first game that I ever really got into on PC was Return to Castle Wolfenstein. And when I started playing Return to Castle Wolfenstein, I had just bought a brand new computer. It was an Alienware I dropped $2,600 on. I was upgrading from a 300 megahertz IBM. Well, that computer came with an IntelliMouse 3.0, IntelliMouse Explorer 3.0, and thank God it did, because this mouse had thumb buttons on it. It was an optical mouse, and it was pretty new to be using an optical mouse for gaming at that time. A lot of purists were sticking with their ball mouse and wouldn't have anything to do with it. Well, here we have my original IntelliMouse 3.0 Explorer right here. Now, obviously, it's in a ridiculous amount of pieces. I was sanding it down. I was going to paint it and mod it up just like I did my 510. But so this is this is all that's left of it, and I think I really wore this thing down. You can't see it. I took the feet off of it, but I remember that those were just completely sanded down because I played so much Return to Castle Wolfenstein on this mouse. And they actually had a couple different variations of this mouse that came out. But anyway, this is pretty much the prototype of what has determined how I play, what button layout I use now. And so I thought that that was worth showing. Ever since the IntelliMouse 3.0, these thumb buttons here on the side have been used for duck, and then this one right here for jump. I never felt comfortable using my thumb button to use the space bar to jump. It just didn't feel intuitive. Somehow it pulled me out of the gaming experience, so kind of dividing things up between my left and right hand made sense. Also, I'm a piano player. I'm thinking constantly about where my fingers need to be for a lick, the next riff, and this just made the most sense. So duck, jump, and then on an IntelliMouse 3.0, all you had was the mouse wheel and then, you know, your left and right clicks. Once I moved to the MX500, which is a very similar form factor to this, I started to change up my functions a little bit. I guess I should have mentioned that on the IntelliMouse 3.0 in Wolfenstein, I would change my my weapons by clicking down a la Mouse 3 and Quake 3 engine-based games. So in Wolfenstein, I actually went through a lot of different control changes, but I think by the time I had finished the game, I was using scroll up to change the pistol and scroll back to change to grenades. Now, that was a long time ago. Games are quite a bit different now, so for the sake of simplicity, from now on I'm going to refer to what I currently use in games. Currently, this is still duck, this is still jump. These two buttons back here, like in a Call of Duty based game, are reserved for grenades. This is going to be frag grenade, this is going to be secondary grenade. The tilt function is just kind of frivolous things particular to each game. I think right now in Resident Evil I have it reserved for secondary item toggle when I press it left and weapon toggle when I press it the other direction. Let's see, for melee I think mouse wheel up, that's what I do for that. For weapons it will vary from game to game. Sometimes I might use the mouse wheel, but generally I think I'm going to press up on the joystick. That's how I toggle if it's toggle weapons, or it may be up and then down to change weapons. This button I haven't got set yet. I think a lot of this stuff I'm going to kind of encounter as I play the game, but that covers the mouse side of things. Now, I used to use a keyboard, and it was a standard, what I want to say, 107 key keyboard. The difference being, if you compared it to something like this, the keys that are up here are actually placed down lower. And in Wolfenstein, I was actually an arrow key player, which a lot of people frickin' just talk so much shit on if you weren't a WASD player. But that's how I played. The bad thing with using keyboards is in a game like Wolfenstein, everybody used lower sensitivities, at least as the game evolved, so you needed a huge mouse pad. So at the time I was limited on desk space, so even though I liked using a keyboard, something like this device here, where it wouldn't take up as much desk space, I'd have more reserved for my mouse pad, seemed like a good option. If you're coming from console to PC, I think getting like a Logitech G13 here would be a nice transition for you, or you could look at the Nostromo Speed Pad. This is really my choice here. So for functions on this puppy, this is particularly awesome because this joystick I never use for movement. I certainly wouldn't recommend that for anyone that's coming from console to PC. I know that might be an easy thing to do. Since you're used to it, just don't do it. What I like it for is actually leaning back and forth. If you use this for left and right, you can still move around with these fingers here and lean while you're moving. I think a default layout is to use these two keys for leaning. Well, if your finger's up here and you're leaning right, you can't very well lean and move at the same time. That's why I've never liked to combine those functions. Like I said, I sit around and think about my config, what I can do at the same time all the time, so this could save you a lot of headaches coming from a piano player. But these two keys right here, in Wolfenstein I would use, these would be packs, because I was always playing a medic, packs, and then my needle here. So I'd just immediately go to my needle. So I still use that in class-based games for those exact same functions. Control, I think this is the equivalent of control here if you're looking up here. Shift has always been run. I do recommend that because you can hit it with your pinky and perform a lot of other functions still. Control used to be my reload way back when. I actually use the equivalent, I guess, of F now. I don't need to be really moving. I can just go over for a second and hit that. Control now, I think, since I don't have the mouse that I did have, I'm probably going to use that for toggle prone. Honestly, I think that's going to cover a lot of your core functions. Obviously, you can shoot with your left click. Right click is really reserved for zooming down your weapon, and I do prefer to hold to do that rather than toggle. You'll see a lot of those options in Call of Duty games, and most first-person shooters should have that option. One thing that I may suggest to you, in Call of Duty games you can have multiple bindings for multiple buttons, meaning you could shoot with your left click, but you could also have the shoot bound to a key on your keyboard or something else. What I actually do is I use now my mouse wheel back as a secondary rate of fire. So if you have an automatic weapon and you're scrolling back on that, you'll actually single shot fire. So if you're needing to conserve ammo, that's actually really handy to do that. But if you have a pistol like Desert Eagle in Call of Duty 4 and you're scrolling back on your mouse, that is going to turn into rapid fire. So as an alternate means of attack, that's actually pretty useful. That sounds so dorky, but I've actually used that in Zombies, and I think a lot of other PC gamers have used it too, because in the latest Black Ops they actually have a rate cap to detect when you are doing that with a weapon, so they'll put in a delay if you try and do it too fast. Well, I think I covered just about everything I can think of in this video. I apologize if that was extraordinarily verbose, but sadly on this topic I actually have quite a bit to say. If there's certain products that you're wanting me to review or take a look at, you're curious about, let me know, and maybe I can get a hold of some of them and check them out for you. Thanks for watching. Take it easy. Peace out.